What is up, guys? It is Expats Everywhere, day number 13 and 14 from Petrograd, from Leningrad. No, from St. Petersburg.
Yes, 2 days because we are in St. Petersburg. It's actually the only place on the cruise that we have stayed overnight somewhere. So they gave us 2 days in St. Petersburg. We've done a lot. What do you think?
So we saw a ton of stuff, a lot of culture, a lot of history, a lot of things.
A lot of tourists.
A lot of tourists. Yes.
Okay, so the great thing is in St. Petersburg, or in Russia, I guess, if you come in on a cruise and you book an excursion through the ship, then you don't have to get a visa ahead of time. So this is something that we kind of weighed the costs, the time, and it made sense to do excursions through the ship instead of go through the visa process to get into Russia.
The good thing is you can get in easily. The bad thing is you're kind of herded around a bit like sheep. And that's bad. We did choose one tour that allowed us about 2.5 hours of free time, which was awesome. We put so many steps on the ground and just tried to get as much B-roll or extra footage as we could, and we're going to bring that to you guys. Hopefully we're going to land an interview with someone that is living here as an expat, and then we'll be able to blend that stuff in to make it more visually interesting for you guys.
So that was our first tour, and it was really nice because we were able to do our own thing.
Yep.
So we were able to get out of the high tourist areas and kind of see what real people live like, which is what we like to do when we go into a city. The tourist things are great and they're beautiful, but what's real life like in this place? So that gave us the opportunity to do that. So if you have some sort of option for that, I would recommend doing that.
For sure. We got shots of Neva River. We went down Nevsky Prospect. We got some shots down there. And then we just kind of got off of the map, actually. We had a little tourist map, and we ended up off of the map and then found our way back to Nevsky Prospect, just checking out all of the local things and then some of the big tourist attractions. There are a shed load of museums here. One of the guides said it was like 4,000.
I don't know.
It was like, what?
Right. I mean, they are known as like the cultural city of Russia.
Yeah, once the capital.
So they have lots of museums, lots of churches, lots of culture, really.
Yeah, for sure.
So the other thing that we did, which I thought was great, was we did an evening at the Hermitage. You have to go to the Hermitage. I mean, everyone does. Again, it's really packed, but you see so much art, and the architecture is beautiful, and the history to it is really amazing. So the great thing about going through the ship is we did an evening there, which is when public hours are starting to dwindle down and they're getting people out. So we were literally the last people to leave, besides some of the workers, but actually a lot of the workers had left as well last night.
That's right.
So it was very easy to comfortably walk and look at the art and look at the architecture and not be like this and get good pictures. So I really liked that.
Yeah, I did too. On our ticket it said that we were allowed in at 7:30, or that's when our tour started, and we got in there and we were able to really get some nice close-up pictures starting in the Winter Palace. So it's this big green and white building, and then we toured around to the different buildings. There are actually 14 different buildings that make up the Hermitage, and then we got to see 4 of the 5 main buildings. So we didn't go see all 14 of them. It would take forever because there's more than 3 million different pieces of work that are in there. That would just take forever. But we did spend like 2 hours there, and like Kalie said, we were there to shut it down.
And we saw a lot, but obviously there's a ton to see. So we spoke with one Russian guy at the port, actually a safety guard, who said you could spend weeks there, which I don't think that's an exaggeration. If you really want to look at everything, you could. But 2 hours was nice, and personally for me, the art was great. but I preferred looking at the architecture of the buildings. The floors, the ceilings, the walls. It was just so beautiful to see that, and that was my favorite part.
You know, I preferred the art itself. We went through a period where we saw the Renaissance artists, so if you can name a Ninja Turtle, they had those artists in there. You know what I mean? And then they skipped the French artists, so the Impressionists. We just blew right past that. But you had a lot of Italian, Dutch, Rembrandt. The stuff was everywhere. Also Spanish artists. So I thought that was really cool. You're taking in all these different artists at the same time in the same location in Russia. Strange.
It's a good variety for sure.
Second largest museum in the world behind
The Louvre.
the Louvre.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So if you've been to the Louvre and you know how big that is, you can kind of get an idea of how big the Hermitage is, because it's huge.
Yes, and today we took in 3 different churches, right? Cathedrals, churches, whatever you want to call it. We took in Spillblood, we took in Isaac, St. Isaac, and the Peter and Paul Fortress area. There's a cathedral there.
They were all different, very different. The insides had different architecture, and you get the history behind why they are different because of the different time periods that they're built and such. So I would definitely recommend going into at least 1 or 2 cathedrals. There's a lot of churches around St. Petersburg. Going into a couple of those just to see how beautiful they are.
Yeah, after doing this as a tour, I don't know if it would be good to do it another way.
It would be hard.
And
Yeah.
you need to stay here a week.
Yeah,
For
and
real.
getting around, there's a lot of traffic, it's really congested, so that would be tough to do that on your own. You can get audio guides in the different churches and do that on your own if you want, but there's just a lot of people. And we normally don't like doing tours. We normally like to do things on our own.
Let's go.
But this actually worked out better, I think.
It worked out really well. Every time we started a tour, they warned us. Watch out for pickpockets.
Uh-huh. Yep, so you have to be aware of that. But we were able to get in to the different areas faster as well.
True.
So that was helpful. And then you walk around and get to look at things while you're listening to your little headphone with the guide and just get to learn the history of things while you get to take pictures. So it was good.
Mad amount of tourism, a little bit of daily life that we saw, but I gotta ask that question, Kalie. It's that time. Would you expat that?
Dun dun dun.
Now, Kalie, would you want to be an expat in St. Petersburg?
This is a tough one.
No, it's not.
I would say no. I would not expat that. The
Why?
city is sprawling. There's a lot going on. The architecture is not my favorite. And something that's huge is it gets really cold here. So even though we're here in the summer, we've hit a lot of rain time and it's not super warm. So if you don't like the cold, this would not be the place to go. So I would say I would not expat that. You?
No. Yet. I would not expat St. Petersburg, not because it's not a beautiful place, not because cost of living, the cold for sure, and it just seems like it's very, I don't want to say dangerous, not dangerous, but it's very like aggressive. The energy that's on the streets reminded me a bit like New York, but because it's so foreign and so unfamiliar to me, I was always on alert, like always. Watching my stuff, watching her stuff, watching my back, watching her back, watching her front, watching my front. I don't like having to do that. I really don't. And I felt like that could be something that you'd have to do there. Whereas like living in Singapore, for example, you get quite used to letting your guard down, and that's really nice. The cold and the aggressive nature of the city would have me not want to expat that. Let us know what you guys think. If you think that St. Petersburg is an awesome place to expat, let us know in the comments section, and we'll be glad to give you a shout out or a comment back. Just don't say anything vulgar, please.
And if you are or have been an expat in St. Petersburg recently and you want to come on here and tell us about it, we would love to hear that too.
We would absolutely love to hear an interview from you guys. So if you've been an expat here, please reach out to us. You can write us at expatsEverywhere@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to have you on our show.
So we move on to our last place, and that is Helsinki, Finland.
Day number 15.
Bye.
See ya.